What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 11 Shish. Chapter 301 Heavy Particles. No, I call it Ashura Mode, 5th update please subscribe. Saw the android Senju Hashirama make arrangements for Uchiha Madara before his death. First, he begged him to let Uchiha Madara go, and then left the power of the heavy particle mode to prevent the pursuit from Sixian after failure in the future. In the end Karl was moved with compassion and let him go. Unexpectedly, Uchiha Madara's character, his arrogance directly made all the arrangements before the death of the android Senju Hashirama go to waste. In this regard, Karl was a little bit emotional, but there were not many surprises. This is the character of Uchiha Madara after all. Proud and conceited. Life and death are easy, bowing your head is hard. Counting the time of Sixian, 3 consecutive fiascos have already made Shira's heart overwhelmed. In the end, the artificial man Senju Hashirama arranged for him to survive. This man can't accept it in all likelihood. I can't do this kind of stupid behavior. Uchiha Madara stared at Karl coldly. In that case, I have no choice but to ask you to die. Karl nodded 963 undeniably. Yeah, if you can do it. The heavy particle mode is fully turned on, and Uchiha Madara's 3-God Jade Rinnegan has undergone earth-shaking changes in an instant. The vitality and chakra of Senju Hashirama were consumed, and a new type of chakra was exchanged, which made Uchiha Madara's Rinnegan a huge change in an instant. The original purple eyes quickly turned green, and although the color of the Guyu remained unchanged, it was still black, but the only 3 Guyu in the eyes turned into 6 Guyu at the same time. Lugoyu Rinnegan. Not one, but a pair. At the same time, chakra in the shape of wooden golem, clustered around the body surface, also extended arms and heads. Finally, it was fixed into a wooden golem form with 3 heads and 6 arms. Heavy particle mode. No, I'd call it Ashura mode. As the deep voice fell, Uchiha Madara's fist sank into Karl's abdomen in an instant at a speed faster than lightning BFFH. Boom. With just one punch, Karl has turned into starlight and soared into the sky, and at the same time, the sea where he was just now turned up huge swirling waves. With a single punch, even the previous Sage Art Weizhuang wooden golem could not stop it with all his strength. Interesting. Whether it is heavy particle mode or Ashura mode, this new type of chakra is indeed like nuclear radiation. No, it is much more overbearing than nuclear radiation. Not only can burn chakra, even Haki seems to be able to burn. The body of Karl who was knocked into the air sank, and after carrying down the punch of Uchiha Madara in Ashura mode with a bang, he stood firmly in the sky. Moonwalk has become his instinct. As if he was born to walk in the air and walk in the air. Call out. At the moment when Karl stabilized his body, Uchiha Madara appeared in front of Karl out of thin air as if performing the Flying Thunder God technique, and punched Karl from the sky and fell to the ocean, rolling up a 1,000-meter high wave. Now you, in my eyes, you are no longer unattainable, let alone invincible. Uchiha Madara looked down on Karl, who was shot down from a high altitude to the bottom of the sea. A pair of 6-hooked jade Rinnegan's powerful pupils allow him to see everything about Karl. At this time, in his eyes, not only Karl is no longer invincible, but even the kindness hidden behind him is no longer unattainable. Karl, you want to kill me, but can you do it? Tell me, how did you kill me? Talk. Uchiha Madara flickered, and teleported in front of Karl who was on the bottom of the sea at an incredible speed, and his fist hit out again, but this time Karl was not knocked out, but stretched out his palm and held it firmly. Fist of Uchiha Madara. I saw. The attack was blocked, but Uchiha Madara smiled instead of being surprised. Quote. Karl glanced at Uchiha Madara with a wicked smile on his face. Your movements. I finally see clearly. Before, you were so fast that I couldn't see clearly, even if Sage Mode's perception combined with Siguyu Rinnegan's insight, I still couldn't see clearly. But now I can see clearly, and I can react. After Uchiha Madara said unhurriedly, his right foot landed on Karl's waist like light, kicking him directly from the bottom of the sea to the sky. It's just that this time it seems that you can't see clearly. Oh, by the way, you didn't see it, you used observation haki to perceive it. So now I'm so fast that you don't have time to perceive it, or perceive, but your body has no time to react. In a flash, Uchiha Madara appeared behind Karl. Seeing the man who was hit by him and flew straight towards him, his right knee slammed down. Boom. Uchiha Madara froze. A hand gripped his knee firmly. What did you say you saw clearly? What do you say I can't see clearly? You said I didn't have time to perceive anything. Karl turned around slowly, staring at Uchiha Madara with unwavering eyes. Those eyes were calm and terrifyingly deep, which made Uchiha Madara have an idea for a while. It wasn't Karl who was beaten just now, it was him. Say it. How? You're dumb. Karl let go of Uchiha Madara's knee and looked at him intently. HMPH, don't think that if you are lucky enough to catch me once or twice, you can get carried away. You have cast haki, but you still can't keep up with me, now you are below me, Karl. You are no longer that mountain that keeps me from seeing the top. Quote. Uchiha Madara took a deep breath and suppressed some fluctuations in her heart. Chapter 302 Heavy Particle Mode. I will too, but it's the haki version, 6th more please subscribe. I'm under you, Uchiha Madara, if you really saw the end of the mountain, if you really saw the gap between you and me, then you would never say such a thing. Only ignorance is fearlessness. Facing Uchiha Madara's extremely proud and confident declaration, Carl couldn't help shaking his head and laughing. I will let you know with the facts, not only can I see the top of your mountain clearly, but I also have the ability to climb over it. Upon hearing this, Uchiha Madara raised her hand blankly and blasted Carl's chest. He didn't use the Susanoo, Tengai Shinsei, Wheel Tomb and other pupil techniques that he is good at, but instead used the out-of-body technique to confront Carl. It is conceivable how confident he is in his own strength now. The heavy particle pattern left to him by the artificial man Senju Hashirama even made him feel that even if Sage of Six Paths is still alive. Boom. With a single punch, Carl's body immediately flew upside down like a cannonball against the sea surface for 1,000 kilometers before he stabilized his body. How? Am I ignorant, or are you fearless? Carl, after 2 eras, you have gotten used to being on top and number 1 in the ninja world, so after being pulled down from the throne, you simply cannot accept it. Uchiha Madara flashed to Carl's back and elbowed him back. With this blow, he was confident that he could directly break Carl's body defense. In terms of the scope of damage, even if he flatters him, he can't catch up with the divine tree descending performed by the artificial man Senju Hashirama before his death. However, in the heavy particle mode, the incomprehensible horror chakra gathers on the hands and feet, and the destructive power is highly concentrated, which gives him confidence crushed Carl's flesh. It's not that you can't accept it, but that you can't do it at all. Under Uchiha Madara's pupil constriction, Carl caught his elbow with one hand in the posture of Uranus Toda. You have never pulled me to the throne of Genin World number 1, and you have never made me feel defeated. How can this be unacceptable? As soon as the words fell, Carl's palm burst out a shock cannon that pierced through the sky, instantly knocking Uchiha Madara to a height of 1,000 meters. The Six Kings Spear is nothing more than that. Uchiha Madara hovered steadily in the sky, clapping her hands with disdain. Yes, Carl stepped on the void and came to Uchiha Madara. If you don't have old eyesight, you should see clearly. Your proud body art, even the fairy art hockey, can't shake me at all. On the contrary, up to now I have only been writing about your physical non-warfare. Taijutsu, illusion, ninjutsu, pupilutsu. Relatively speaking, what I am least good at is taijutsu, but what you are best at is taijutsu, and you are only good at taijutsu. Uchiha Madara said indifferently. What do you want to express? Carl couldn't deny it. In the Ashura mode, I just suppressed you with the physical technique I'm not good at, so, what if I use illusion, ninjutsu, or even pupil technique? Do you think you can still resist? Uchiha Madara paused every word. Then use it, but you'd better move neatly. The time of the heavy particle mode is very limited. Once the chakra left in your body by the artificial man Senju Hashirama is burned out, or your body and spirit can no longer bear the heavy burden brought by the heavy particle mode, then you will lose this power zone. Carl shrugged nonchalantly. You know so clearly. Uchiha Madara's pupils shrank. This is the first time he has used this power, and it was created by chance before the death of the artificial man Senju Hashirama. Theoretically speaking, even he himself is not very clear about this kind of strength. But Carl seems to know the basics of the heavy particle mode. Ask for flowers. Sorry, maybe I wasn't clear enough just now, that's why you once again had the idea that you are above me. Then let me put it more bluntly. I have seen and used the heavy particle mode. I have seen the previous sentence of Carl, and Uchiha Madara can still face it calmly, but I also used the next sentence. When Carl said it, his confident and proud face suddenly looked. You said you used it. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. You don't have to think about messing with my state of mind with this kind of low-level means, you don't even know chakra, how can you come up with heavy particle mode? 0. Even for me, Hashirama needs to sacrifice himself to activate this mode, how have you used it before? Uchiha Madara shook his head with an extremely excited tone. No, I actually did. Different from Uchiha Madara's excitement, Carl's tone is very calm, and it is just a common thing for him to play heavy particle mode. You said you used it. Huh, then come out and let me have a look. A person who doesn't even know how to chakra dares to speak so boldly. Quote. Uchiha Madara pointed at Carl and said coldly. Is this your last wish before you die? Forget it, the you before, you are indeed not qualified to let me down. Since the cyborg Senju Hashirama has helped you open the heavy particle mode, and how strongly you want it, then I will fulfill you. Carl said lightly. One thing, you're right, I really don't know chakra, but the heavy particle mode doesn't have to use 2 strands of chakra to open. Don't blink. Hockey version of the heavy particle mode, I am honored to see this posture of mine, and you are also the first in this ninja world. Chapter 303 The Fourth New Type of Hockey, Part 1 for subscription. Hockey's version of heavy particle mode. Uchiha Madara's complexion changed again and again. If, at the beginning, he thought that Carl would most likely not be able to accept the fact that he was above him, but now he is a little nervous. Is this guy ahead of me and Hashirama again? No, but he was way too far ahead of me and Hashirama, so every time we thought we had caught him, we ended up just 1 step behind him, by a few steps. But, is it possible? Thinking of this, Uchiha Madara's expression was uncertain. You are right, I am far ahead of you too. So every time you think you have caught up with me, in fact, 370, is just 1 step ahead. Rinnegan is like this, Sangoku Rinnegan is like this, and even the current heavy particle mode is like this. The level you stepped on, I have stepped on a long time ago, just like now. After Carl finished speaking, he spread out his left and right hands at the same time. A streamer of gas flames like a black dragon was released from his right hand, and at the same time, black and red lightning bolts burst out from his left hand. Armed color. Conquerors. Uchiha Madara's face was extremely ugly. Seeing this, he already understood what Carl meant by the heavy particle mode. Unlike ninjutsu, illusion, taijutsu, and hitomijutsu, which are basically derived from chakra, Carl's conquerors, knowledge color, and armed color are all different haki. This also means that the chakra version of the heavy particle mode can only be used by two people, or one person at the same time. Humans, or Uchiha Madara, artificial human Senju Hashirama, and future Uzumaki Naruto. Tail Beast, is the 9 tails level existence. Otherwise, even if you know how to open the heavy particle mode, you will not have a large enough chakra to support the huge consumption of the heavy particle mode, nor will you have enough strength, body, and spirit to carry the huge burden of the heavy particle mode. Uchiha Madara, already in heavy particle mode, knows this well. Even if he did it again, he didn't have the confidence to open this mode, because he couldn't find the second artificial man Senju Hashirama in the ninja world, and he was willing to risk his life to leave him the key to open the heavy particle mode. Carl, however, has no such concerns. His powerful body and spirit can easily carry the burden of heavy particle patterns. And if haki can also turn on the heavy particle mode, he has two completely different haki, which can completely replace the two chakra. It seems that you already know what I plan to do next. Not bad. As you said, you and Senju Hashirama's two kinds of chakra are fused, and the heavy particle mode is born. And I use armament haki and conqueror's haki, instead of two chakra, the haki version of heavy particle mode is born. As soon as the words fell, Carl clapped his hands violently. The black-red lightning and the black streamer are like two giant dragons in a state of water and fire, colliding with each other, entangled with each other, and agitated each other. You don't want to die. The price of the heavy particle mode is to burn the chakra of one side, or even both sides, in exchange for this terrifying new chakra. The same goes for haki who wants to come to you. You have to run out of armed colors, or conquerors, or even both haki at the same time. No matter what the result, you will die. Uchiha Madara looked in disbelief at Carl who actually did the ultimate stirring of the two haki. Do you know what returning life is? Under the entanglement of streamer and lightning, the aura emitted by Carl at this time made Uchiha Madara, who had turned on the heavy particle mode, feel shuddering. Life returned. Uchiha Madara didn't know what to think of. Lugoyu Rinnegan flashed a touch of shock. Life return masters this ability, but by infusing consciousness into various parts of the body, such as hair, muscles, nails, internal organs, etc., so as to achieve the point of finally controlling every tissue of the body. However, this is just an introduction to the ability of returning life, or the basic ability. When I returned my life to ultimate, I found that besides being able to lock youth, retain appearance, and slow down the aging rate of the body to 10 times, or even 100 times that of ordinary people, there is also a very interesting ability, that is haki. Carl slowly let go of his hands, the black and red lightning and the black streamer entrenched in his palms had disappeared. Instead, there was a purple gold flame. Armament haki is gone. Conqueror's haki is gone too. The agitation and fusion of the two kinds of haki, just like the birth of a new type of chakra in the mode of heavy particles, gave birth to the fourth new type of haki. The top-level return of life can also pour consciousness into haki, so as to have a deep understanding and mastery of haki, and this kind of control can reach the point of fine detail. Relying on this unbelievable ability to control, I can not only produce a new type of haki through the stimulation of different haki, but also further control this new type of haki, so as not to overuse the armed colors and conquerors in my body at once. I forgot to tell you, I went to Mount Myoboku, and after absorbing a huge force of nature to transform the body of the Black Sword, I have been able to do it on the basis of opening the haki version of the heavy particle mode, not like you like Hashirama, one kind of chakra, or even two kinds of chakra, and even life must be exhausted permanently. The haki consumed by turning on the heavy particle mode can be recovered afterwards by resting, meditating, extracting from the body and spirit, and even absorbing the power of nature. Quote. Carl's words, like a sledgehammer, grabbed Uchiha Madara's brain one after another. Chapter 304 The Three-Headed and Six-Armed Susanoo Part 2 Request Subscription. Haki version. Heavy particle mode, and still can't die. Uchiha Madara glared at Carl through gritted teeth. This is more than one step ahead of him, it is several steps. Once cyborg Senju Hashirama's chakra is depleted, he can no longer enter heavy particle mode. On the contrary, after Carl's two kinds of haki were depleted, they were able to recover. Not only does he not have to die, but he also needs to have an artificial human, Hashirama willing to sacrifice for him to get a heavy particle mode experience card. It seems you figured it out. If you think about it, if your chakra heavy particle mode is an experience card, then my haki version heavy particle mode is a permanent card. Uchiha Madara, tell me, do you still feel above me now? Carl let go of his hands, and under the inside of Uchiha Madara's six-hook Jade Rinnegan 15, the Conqueror's haki and armament haki in his body, as shown to him just now, are stirring each other in the body to produce a new type of haki. With the continuous production of new haki, Carl's aura rose at a geometric speed, and at the same time, his body life also ignited a purple gold arrogance. Impossible. It's absolutely impossible. You can't stay ahead of us all the time. Uchiha Madara shook his head again and again. He couldn't accept this fact. He couldn't accept the heavy particle mode that the artificial man Senju Hashirama paid for with his life. Carl actually did it in a few gestures, and he did it better than the two of them combined. If all this is true, what am I, Uchiha Madara? What am I, Hashirama? We are descendants of immortals. I do not believe. Perhaps unable to accept this result, Uchiha Madara let out a distorted roar. The power in the heavy particle mode was fully activated, and the new type of chakra, which was more violent than nuclear radiation, surged out of the body. The majestic air waves spread across the sky in an instant. At this time, if anyone is nearby, they will definitely find the battlefield where the two are, and a sea of Wang appears in the sky, and the air current invisible to the naked eye becomes seawater visible to the naked eye. Wave after wave of air, like a stormy sea, spread continuously in all directions in the sky. These phenomena of heaven and earth are entirely caused by the Uchiha Madara in the heavy particle mode simply releasing a new type of chakra. I can't believe you're always ahead of us. With a flash of green light, Uchiha Madara punched Carl like a streamer piercing the sky at a frightening speed and with terrifying power. Boom. However, facing his punch which is faster than lightning and more terrifying than a missile or even a nuclear bomb explosion, this time Carl not only was not knocked into the air, but instead he just stretched out a finger lightly. Steadily suppressed Uchiha Madara's bombarding fist. Boom. Fists and fingers collided, and with the two of them as the center, the atmosphere within a radius of 10 kilometers presented a strange folding and twisting shape. The sky is cut in half from the middle like a birthday cake. Catch it. Uchiha Madara stared in amazement at Carl, who was close at hand and caught his full blow with one finger. No one knew better than him how powerful the punch just now was. In the mode of dealing with heavy particles, how terrifying his physical skills have become. Even the Tengai Shinsei released by Rinnegan in Sage mode before, he can blow all of them with one punch. But such a powerful punch, Carl could not use one finger to hold it steadily, and his punch could not shake the man in front of him at all. It's not true. Uchiha Madara was stunned for a while, and then flew into a rage. The green chakra in the form of wooden golem with 3 heads and 6 arms covering his body suddenly raised 6 arms and bombarded Carl's chest at the same time. The violent fist force caused a huge shock wave, which instantly penetrated Carl's body and spread to tens of thousands of meters of space in the sky. The sea divide of more than 10 kilometers. However, with such an earth-shattering attack, Carl, who was undefended and resisted with his body, only took 5 steps back in midair, and then stabilized his body. Is this your realization? Carl patted the dust on his chest, and his tone was neither salty nor weak, as if what he just received was not a punch that tore the ocean, but a small fist from a baby. Don't underestimate me and Hashirama's enlightenment. 997. Ashura Susanoo. When Uchiha Madara heard the words, Lugoyu Rinnegan burst out with terrifying pupil power. Whether he is willing to accept it or not, he also knows that even in the heavy particle mode, his physical skills are no longer Carl's opponent. Everyone is in the heavy particle mode, just a chakra version, a hockey version. It is obviously unrealistic to shake Carl with physical skills. At this moment, he no longer has any reservations, and he no longer simply uses physical skills to compete with Carl as before. He not only uses pupil skills directly, but also uses Susanoo. When Susanoo emerged, the 3-headed and 6-armed wooden golem covering him like a chakra coat suddenly enlarged and merged with Susanoo. Susanoo, who was originally like a Valkyrie, has changed in both face and appearance. In addition to retaining the armor of Susanoo, the face, shape, and color are closer to the form of wooden golem, and at the same time, there are 2 more heads and 4 arms. Chapter 305 The Battle Between Heavy Particle Modes Part 3 Request Subscription. As soon as the 3-headed and 6-armed Susanoo opened, this kind of unprecedented Susanoo, which belongs to the heavy particle mode and is produced by the combination of the new chakra and pupil power, immediately made Uchiha Madara's apprehension, panic, and uneasiness swept away. At this time, he is just like when he just opened Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and opened the perfect body Susanoo for the first time. His heart is full of arrogance and confidence overlooking the ninja world and the earth under my feet. This 3-headed and 6-armed Ashura Susanoo is not huge in size, at least compared to the previous 4-go Jade Rinnegan state. This Ashura Susanoo's body is also a complete body of the general Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan Susanoo, almost the same. Of course, this difference is almost only in size. Strength, speed, defense, etc. The full body Susanoo opened by Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan is completely different from the Ashura Susanoo mastered by Uchiha Madara at this time. This time I'm on top of you. As soon as Ashura Susanoo opened, Uchiha Madara clapped his hands together immediately. At this time, he is like the man-made man Senju Hashirama who has gone to the Pure Land. He basically no longer needs to lead. He used to perform fire style and made 2 or 3 seals to show his meaning. Now he just claps his hands. What do you want? What is coming? Ashura Susanoo extinguished the great fire. A green flame, like the fire of life, but with the power to burn all chakra and matter, swept towards Carl with the attitude of burning the sky and boiling the sea. In the state of Ashura Susanoo, everything about Chiba Madara has been unbelievably improved. It seems that the range of damage has not been greatly improved compared to before, but the power of the spell is more concentrated. In the case of not much increase in the range of damage, the destructive power has increased many times. Good time. Carl grinned. Instead of refuting Uchiha Madara, he just raised his hand and punched him. Boom. There was a loud noise, and the sky seemed to be tilted. Uchiha Madara also saw this scene, but he knew that it was just the illusion of the sky tilted by Carl's full force on the atmosphere. But even so, it was scary enough. After all, at the same time as the sky was tilting, his majestic fire extinguished like a tide, but it also went out directly. It was completely crushed by the mighty and boundless fist power. As fire style useless. Then try this. Seeing this, Uchiha Madara was not discouraged. Fire style is just his starting technique, and he has yet to display more techniques. Ashura Susanoo Tengai Shinsei. Uchiha Madara's pair of 6-hook Jade Rinnegan burst out with terrifying pupil power. On the sea surface under their feet, the land rose from the ground at a frightening speed, and instantly gathered in the void into dozens of asteroid-like rocky water balls, and then swept the fiery red air waves and hit Carl condescendingly. Are you serious? HMPH, then I'll show you the physical skills that match it in heavy particle mode. Carl clenched his fist tightly and punched the air. Fist gun. His fist was like a god's gun, and just one punch caused a storm like a space tide in the sky of Ninja World. The speed of dozens of meteorites, which were originally falling at an astonishing speed, was also affected and became much slower. Click. In the next second, Uchiha Madara's eyelids twitched, one after another, like white dragons soaring into the sky, burst out of the sky, smashing dozens of meteorites he released into slag in an instant. Call out. In the next second, Carl disappeared in place like teleportation. Uchiha Madara's pupils shrank, and in the heavy particle mode, his Lugoyu Rinnegan's insight was terrifyingly powerful, and at the same time, his perception ability was extremely terrifying. Almost at the same time when Carl disappeared, his Ashura Susanoo stretched out two arms, crossed and blocked each other in front of him. Boom. At the same time, Carl stepped in front of Ashura Susanoo and stepped on Ashura Susanoo's arms. The mighty and boundless foot power rushed down, even though Uchiha Madara tried his best to stabilize his body, but Ashura Susanoo was trampled from a height of 1 meter to the land by Carl's foot. Click. When Ashura Susanoo fell from the sky and touched the ninja land with both feet, the surface of the ground was like a tablecloth lifted up, producing circles of ripples that spread to a radius of 10,000 meters in an instant. While the solid and heavy ground collapsed all the way, there were hundreds of Zhao Qinhao, shocking cracks extending in all directions. Quote. Catch it. However, Uchiha Madara turned a blind eye to all this and all his attention was focused on Ashura Susanoo. When he saw that Ashura Susanoo's arms endured Carl's kick without any cracks, let alone being crushed by Carl's punch like Susanoo in the past, he was relieved and at the same time more confident. Maybe the current Carl is very strong, but the artificial man Senju Hashirama risked his life to open the heavy particle mode for him, and he is not weak. He's at full strength and can compete with Carl. At least, at this moment, he himself thinks so. Tsunade. Chapter 306 Ashura Susanoo the Guyu of Yusaka Part 4. Please subscribe. I have 4 arms like this. How about you, Carl? Such feat. How many more do you have? Uchiha Madara, who felt that he could fight Carl with all his strength, laughed wildly. Ashura Susanoo stretched out her 2 arms, opened her fist and blasted towards Carl at the same time. Golden body. Carl was expressionless, he didn't even intend to raise his hand, and directly received Ashura Susanoo's 2 punches with his body. Although the violent air wave shattered the ground and set off a wave of sand and stones 100 meters high, it only took a step back. That's it. Carl grinned. Golden body. This should be the same as the gun raising just now. It is a physical skill that can only be used in the heavy particle mode. Uchiha Madara stared. These 2 physical skills made him see the shadow of Superman 6 styles. The fist gun corresponds to the finger pistol, and the golden body should correspond to the iron body. But whether it is the attacking fist gun or the defensive golden body, the physical power of these 2 heavy particle modes is far greater than that of Superman 6 forms. 933 He was confident that if Carl used the iron body instead of the golden body, those 2 punches would definitely not only make Carl take a step back, but back more, and even break the defense. 2 arms are not enough, so I'll use 4. Although he was extremely afraid of the brand new physical skills displayed by Carl, he even gave up on escaping, and chose to use the heavy particle mode to fight to the death. No way to choose. It is also true that no amount of fear can shake his determination. Boom. As if feeling the fighting spirit and determination in his heart, the last 2 arms of Ashura Susanoo fell on Carl. The strength of the 4 arms no longer makes Carl take a step back, but retreats step by step. Ashura Susanoo Yusaka no Tama. The 6 arms spread out their palms, each holding a scurrying Yusaka Guyu as a weapon, and smashed them all over Carl. It forcibly hit all the way from the land to the sea, and finally caused a huge chakra explosion like a nuclear explosion on the boundless Wangyang Sea. However, just when Uchiha Madara was about to go all out and knock Carl down, Carl, who had been only using his golden body to bear all the attacks of his Ashura Susanoo, suddenly stretched out his hands, showing the power of pulling mountains and rivers. Forcefully Ashura Susanoo pressed on the spot, and then kicked Ashura Susanoo's arm at close range. Zon Kong. A purple-gold slashing wave erupted, and at close range, Ashura Susanoo had no time to dodge. The huge Ashura Susanoo, at this moment, was not only crushed by the slashing wave, but even the slashing wave kicked out by Carl became bigger and bigger. Fragmented posture. Slash. I have this too. Uchiha Madara controls Ashura Susanoo to spread its wings and insert its feet into the sea. Although it still cannot change the situation that Ashura Susanoo was repelled by the slashing wave, as Susanoo pulled out 2 green chakra-long knives with both hands, he slashed furiously. Ashura Susanoo's rapidly retreating body stagnated on the surface of the sea on the chopping wave triggered by Carl's kick. BFEC, 2 swords are not enough, I have 4. Uchiha Madara roared. Ashura Susanoo stretched out 2 hands again, pulled out 2 green chakra-long knives and slashed out angrily. With the power of 4 arms and 4 swords, the chopping wave was not only blocked, but also defeated on the spot. However, at this time Karl has already flashed and landed in front of Uchiha Madara. Shenluo Tianzhong. Seeing this, Uchiha Madara's face sank. No matter how confident he was in Ashura Susanoo's defense, he didn't dare to let Karl get so close to him. Step on the moon. Before the repulsive force swept over, Karl had disappeared in place. But after the repulsion dissipated, he returned to the original place like a ghost, and then punched out. Fist gun. Uchiha Madara's pupils shrank, and before she had time to react, Ashura Susanoo flew across the sky like a piece of rag thrown out by someone. Click. Bearing Karl's punching gun head-on, Ashura Susanoo's face burst into cracks visible to the naked eye. However, Uchiha Madara laughed instead of being surprised after seeing this scene. Ha ha ha, is this your heavy particle mode? I have seen your limit. It's just this level, you can't be my opponent. After Uchiha Madara stabilized Ashura Susanoo's body, Rinnegan stared at Karl with confidence. Yes, Karl was undeniable, unmoved by Uchiha Madara's words. You think I'm joking? No, Karl, I mean it. You are really strong, you can activate the heavy particle mode on your own, and even suppress my Ashura Susanoo, but don't forget. I am best at pupil art. Like this Ashura Susanoo, I have 6 more. Uchiha Madara raised his right hand, and in another round tomb shadow that could no longer be seen or seen except for the 6 paths level of perception and the 6 Guyu level of Rinnegan appeared one after another. In an instant, the 6 figures looked exactly like him, and the shadows that had also turned on the heavy particle mode had surrounded Karl. Chapter 307 New Haki. I've never used it Part 5 Please subscribe. Wheel Tomb. When Karl saw the appearance of the 6 tomb shadows, his eyes flashed brightly. That's right, although compared to the main body, the round tomb is slightly inferior, but if the 6 round tomb shadows add up, it is more than enough to beat the main body. Joining forces with me as the main body, defeating you is naturally a no-brainer. Quote. Although he has always been at a disadvantage, at this moment, Uchiha Madara smiled extremely happily. He thought he had seen the depth of Karl, the limit of this man. Even if his heavy particle mode can only be entered once in his life, it is only an experience card, unlike Karl who can enter the heavy particle mode unscrupulously, but it does not need many times. Once is enough. He's confident enough to defeat, maybe even kill, Karl before heavy particle mode ends. Just use the power that Hashirama left me with. Uchiha Madara snorted coldly, and the 6 round tomb shadows simultaneously activated Ashura Susanoo. Although the aura exuded and the body shape were not as good as the main body, the sum was better than the main body. What's even more frightening is that the shadow of the tomb of the wheel seems to be in another space. It obviously opened Ashura Susanoo together, but it didn't have any impact on the ninja world. You seem to have overlooked one thing. Seeing that Uchiha Madara is full of confidence and looks like he is sure of winning, Karl can't help shaking his head and laughing. What? Uchiha Madara said nonchalantly. Until now, I was only fighting you with physical skills in heavy particle mode. This new type of haki. I have never used it. On the contrary, whether it's illusion, body, ninjutsu, pupil art, or even the bottom card round tomb, you have displayed it. Quote. Karl's unhurried words made Uchiha Madara's pupils shrink. Planetary devastation. Uchiha Madara didn't speak, just let out a growl, reached out to Karl with both hands, and then grabbed it hard. Only in this way can he suppress the anger and anxiety that gradually emerged in his heart. Bang! As Uchiha Madara clasped his hands together, the huge gravitational force centered on Karl's body and spread in all directions. The ninja land and ocean below the sky began to rise layer by layer. Wang Yanghai soared into the sky. It was broken, and countless rocks rose from the land of the ninja world that had experienced the washing of nuclear bombs. In an instant, Karl was pressed to the very center of planetary devastation by the majestic current and countless rocks. Rocks and water flow are nothing, but under the infinite gravitational pull of the planetary devastation, these water flows and rocks will not disperse, oppressing Karl's body, and even the inner core of the planetary devastation releases infinite gravity, binding holding his body. It is extremely difficult for him to even move a finger. Shenluo Tianzhong. Uchiha Madara slapped his left hand, and the huge repulsive force bombarded the moon-like asteroid, cooperating with the planetary devastation to forcibly lift Karl into the atmosphere, and even continued to rise to a higher position. Whatever new haki you have in your possession, you won't have a chance to cast it, Karl. You can survive a 10,000-meter fall, right? Then seal it in the planetary devastation, and hit it directly on the ocean of the ninja world, and I will see if you are unscathed. Uchiha Madara knew that planetary devastation couldn't seal Karl for long, so he never expected to use planetary devastation to seal Karl permanently. Ashura Susanoo True Shenra Tianzhong. Uchiha Madara flew to the back of the asteroid that sealed Karl. Ashura Susanoo's 6 arms pressed on the surface of the asteroid at the same time. A majestic repulsive force exploded, and in conjunction with the gravitational force of the ninja world, it instantly floated into the atmosphere. The speed of the asteroid above accelerated to a terrifying level. In just a short moment, the asteroid that was originally infinitely close to the outer space of the ninja world has wrapped Karl, rolling up a terrifying heat wave and approaching the ocean below the ninja world. Ask for flowers. In order not to let his technique destroy the entire ninja world, he has chosen the place where the Earth explosion star will fall to be in the center of the ocean, which is extremely far away from the land of the ninja world. Although doing so will still cause a shocking tsunami and destroy many countries connected to the ocean, in Uchiha Madara's opinion, as long as the ninja world does not fall, it will be fine. It's not over yet. After doing it all, Uchiha Madara is not resting. The shadow that Carl brought to him was too terrifying. Even if such a huge planetary devastation hit the ninja ocean from a position close to outer space, he did not dare to be 100% sure that Carl would die. 0. As the planetary devastation fell, he chased it with terrifying speed, even jumping over the planetary devastation. When he descended to a certain height, he drove Ashura Susanoo's six-wheel tomb shadow at the same time and stretched out his hand. Tengai Shinsei, nearly 100 meteorites, whose overall size is 1/20th the size of the planetary devastation, floated into the sky. After the planetary devastation fell, the six tomb shadows waved their hands at the same time, and the meteorite suspended in the sky rushed towards the planetary devastation immediately. At this moment, like the end of the world, the scene of planetary destruction was constructed by Uchiha Madara himself in the ocean of Ninja World. This time, no matter how strong your new Haki is, Carl, you're dead. After all this was done, Uchiha Madara gasped. He's no Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, with a near-infinite supply of chakra to splurge on. The quality of the new chakra in heavy particle mode is based entirely on his own chakra, as well as the chakra left to him by the android Kai Hashirama. For every morsel of the new chakra, he and the android Senju Hashirama's chakra will lose a morsel. Chapter 308 Pupil skills are good, can you dance again? Please subscribe to the 6th update. After turning on the heavy particle mode, Uchiha Madara has been engaged in a high-intensity battle with Carl. From the physical combat at the beginning, to the ninjutsu and pupil technique later, and even to the point where everything is going all out. Every second that passes, the chakra in Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama's bodies is depleted, and the new chakra is also depleted at an alarming rate. The most important thing is that during this process, he still bears a huge burden every moment. Especially at the end when Ashura Susanoo was turned on, he frantically cast planetary devastation, Tengai Shinsei, Shenluo Tianzhong and other pupil techniques, and it was the kind that raised the power of the technique to ultimate in one go. 110. This also makes him bear a huge burden every minute and every second, and constantly shortens the maintenance time of the heavy particle mode. After Uchiha Madara finished all this, he was suspended in the sky. Not only could not maintain Ashura Susanoo, nor could he cast the wheel tomb anymore, even the chakra coat in the form of wooden golem with 3 heads and 6 arms covering his body became extremely dim, and he was about to die. To the point of disappearing. Are you close to the limit? Uchiha Madara didn't even look at the 3-headed and 6-armed wooden golem chakra coat covering her body, and stared fixedly at the meteorite group that was getting closer and closer to the ocean like stars descending. A pupil technique of this scale can no longer be used. He almost gambled everything on the pupil technique just now, and there was no way to come up with more chips. Call out. Just when he was full of anticipation and looked towards the ocean below with his eyes wide open due to the excessive use of the pupil technique and the excessive consumption of the pupil power, resulting in blood and tears, a purple gold light that was brighter than the stars suddenly came to life. Blooming out of the meteorite group, the flashing strong light continuously flooded the meteorite group in the blink of an eye, and also occupied all of his sight. Fist gun rising dragon. When Uchiha Madara barely recovered enough to see the scene ahead, a giant dragon burning with purple golden flames had already torn through rocks and seawater from the largest planetary devastation, and finally penetrated with a bang. Out, and then meandering and hovering over the surface of the meteorite. In the next second, under his sluggish and shocking eyes, the planetary devastation, as huge as the moon in the sky, exploded with an earth-shattering bang. Gravel drizzle. Before Uchiha Madara could recover from being dazed and stupefied, the Zijin Senlong who had put all his strength on him, bet all his pupil power, and chakra's planetary devastation to destroy him didn't stop. The meteor rain above the ocean among them, they vertically and horizontally, tossed and danced. Wherever the Zijin Shenlong passed, the shadows of the 6 round tombs jointly performed it. Tengai Shinsei, which had nearly 100 meteorites, shattered without exception, making the gravel rain covering the ocean even bigger and more violent. However, compared with the disasters caused by the falling of stars and meteorites hitting the ocean, such a rainstorm of gravel over the ocean is nothing at all. In addition to causing a little tsunami, it is no longer possible to cause alter damage to the ocean, or even the ninja world. Vr. Uchiha Madara opened his mouth wide, staring at Carl who came out of the void from the gravel rain with an unacceptable expression. The pupil technique is good, can you dance again? Carl patted the dust off his body, and casually said to Uchiha Madara in front of him. It is just a trivial matter for him to destroy all the pupil skills that Uchiha Madara has bet on with a gesture of his hand. B******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* with a start, she suddenly became furious. But just when he was about to cast Susanoo, there was tearing pain in his eyes. The blood and tears that were just flowing down slowly, flowed down from the eye sockets like a dike. At the same time, the three-headed and six-armed chakra coat covering his body was fading at a speed visible to the naked eye, and his aura dropped sharply. What? The huge burden of the heavy particle mode and the depletion of the new chakra did not require Carl to take action. Uchiha Madara couldn't help but let out a wail, and even lost the ability to fly in the air, and fell directly on the ocean. My chakra. Uchiha Madara was floating on the surface of the sea, reaching out and scratching at the sky, as if trying to retain the heavy particle pattern. However, no matter how frantically he scratched and yelled, he still couldn't change the disappearance of the heavy particle mode. When the three-headed and six-armed chakra coat covering his body was completely dissipated, his movements also froze. Not only that, The original 6-goat Rinnegan quickly degenerated into a 3-goat Rinnegan, and then his body was overwhelmed by 0.2. His eyes could not even be opened by the 3-goat Rinnegan, and he directly exited the state of the pupil technique, turning back to a pair of dull eyes black pupils. What? Feeling the weakness and pain coming from all over the body, Uchiha Madara couldn't hold back anymore, and let out an extremely complicated roar. The pain in the body, the stinging pain in the eyes, he can bear them all. Only losing the heavy particle mode, losing the capital to fight against Carl, like a bereaved dog, presenting the most embarrassing picture in front of Carl. This is what he cannot accept. Chapter 309 You lost, Uchiha Madara. Please subscribe for the first chapter. You lost, Uchiha Madara. Carl saw Uchiha Madara's extremely distressed appearance, first shook his head, then fell from the sky and stepped on the sea. Shut up, I didn't say that. I am Uchiha Madara, how could I lose? I who mastered the Ashura mode, there's no way I could lose to you. With a puff, Uchiha Madara rose from the sea, thrusting his hands like rain, and Carl slammed into it. Although the Sengoku Rinnegan was turned off, and he didn't use any pupil, ninjutsu, or illusion, just relying on physical skills, his fist still caused shocking waves on the sea, but Carl didn't even look at it. The body is like a fallen leaf blowing in the wind, floating along Uchiha Madara's fist. No matter how fast Uchiha Madara punches, how high the frequency is, and how wide the range covered by 15 punches is, there is no way to touch it except for causing huge waves on the sea surface after punching and kicking. Not a single bit of Carl's body. Damn paper arts. Uchiha Madara punched thousands of punches in one breath, each punch with all his strength, but he was out of breath, and still couldn't touch Carl's clothes. He knew that this was the paper arts among the 6 forms of Superman. Possesses an extremely powerful ability to dodge. As long as it wasn't a technique like the tailed beast bomb that instantly leveled several kilometers, or even dozens of kilometers, as long as Carl cast paper arts, it would be basically impossible to touch the corner of his clothes. If used in conjunction with observation haki, this trick is even more terrifying. At that time, Carl used this physical technique in the face of the several sieges launched by the Uchiha clan. Dozens of Uchiha clan members beat chakra to exhaustion. It didn't hurt him at all. It's really embarrassing and ugly. Carl shook his head. To shut up. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara, who was stepping on the sea surface and gasping for breath, suddenly stepped forward and punched Carl straight in the face. You lost, Uchiha Madara. In this regard, Carl didn't even look at it, and flicked his fingers over Uchiha Madara's fist, and gently pressed it against his forehead. Although this finger did not cause any harm to himself, Uchiha Madara froze suddenly when he punched, and the violent aura on his body gradually dissipated. At this time, he seemed to have calmed down and accepted the ending of another fiasco. Why? Why did you appear in this world? Why does the ninja world have me, Uchiha Madara, and you, Carl, an era, with me, just one of you is enough? Uchiha Madara stared at a pair of complex eyes of anger, resentment, and reluctance, and stared at Carl who was close at hand, perhaps because he knew that this time there was really no way out, or if there was a way out, he didn't want to leave, and he didn't have the strength. I don't have the energy to continue walking like in the past. After the 2 eras, countless battles were fought, but in the end, without exception, they were all defeated by Carl. The backlog of fiascos over and over again had exhausted his self-confidence and spirit, and made his will collapse. Especially in the heavy particle mode just now, he chose to fight instead of fleeing, almost betting everything on him. The result is still lost. After countless fiascos, although these proud Shiras were unwilling to bow their heads, they never lost their previous spirit, and their mentality completely collapsed. Facing Uchiha Madara's ferocious shout, Carl didn't speak, nor was he impatient, but listened and watched quietly. I didn't expect that I would have such an ugly and unbearable performance. I'm really sorry, old friend. Although you no longer regard me as an old friend, I'm still very sorry to let you see this picture of me losing my composure. After a while, Uchiha Madara seemed to have had enough of cursing, or was tired of cursing, and suddenly pulled down weakly. It's okay. If you have anything else to say or explain, you can finish it all at once and explain clearly. I still have time. Quote. Carl shook his head. No, I can't beat you, I can scold you before I die, and you have no way to refute, so I can only endure and suffer quietly. I'm not completely lost. Uchiha Madara gave a low self-deprecating laugh. 883 inches. I have a question for you. Aren't you from the ninja world like Otsutsuki? Suddenly, he raised his head to look at Carl, and asked every word. Yes, I am different from you, Hashirama, Tobirama. I am not a native ninja. Quote. Carl didn't hide it either, but admitted it frankly. Is it the same for Sage of Six Paths? Uchiha Madara asked again. I kind of don't know how to define him. You say he is from the Otsutsuki clan, but he is not completely, but if you say that he is an ordinary ninja born and bred, he is not either. All I can say is, he's a Otsutsuki who was born in the ninja world, a Otsutsuki who grew up in the ninja world. Carl pondered for a moment, then said, so, are you from the same place? At this moment, Uchiha Madara and Carl seemed to put aside the grievances of the past, just like when they first met, chatting like a pair of ordinary friends, no longer the strong smell of gunpowder before. Chapter 310 The Salvation Frog Toad Pill Part 2 Please subscribe. I don't come from the same place as Otsutsuki. To put it bluntly, if I had the slightest relationship with Otsutsuki, back in the Sengoku era, I would not have become friends with you, nor Hashirama. Because at that time, you have already been used as fertilizer by me. Quote. Carl shook his head. Otsutsuki has nothing to do with past lives, current lives, or abilities. If it really has something to do with Otsutsuki, the Uchiha Madara in front of him is probably taken by him many years ago as nourishment for planting the sacred tree. Although the sacred tree has to eat Otsutsuki to grow fruit and fully mature, Uchiha Madara is definitely not as good as the Otsutsuki family, but it is definitely a good fertilizer. Naturally, it is impossible to meet later and get married with the Senju brothers and others. How dare you be *********** D. But you said that chemical fertilizer is related to the sacred tree. Uchiha thought of what Sixian said before, that the sacred tree was planted by him thousands of years ago. Yes, you have also been in contact with the people behind it, so you should know a lot about it. The Otsutsuki who gave you these eyes and body came to the ninja world with only one original intention, that is, to use the planet under your feet as a nutrient, plant a sacred tree, and bear the fruit of chakra. It's just that the ninja world should not die, or it happened just at the right time, or it was the efforts of Mount Myoboku. First there was an infighting between Otsutsuki, the kind you Uchiha are good at, and the Otsutsuki who made you who you are now lost, nearly died, and now is finally alive, but not really resurrected. Carl nodded, and then explained the origin of the sacred tree, Otsutsuki. It has something to do with Mount Myoboku. Uchiha Madara was a little surprised. Z% 1% at. That said, Chakra, Mount Myoboku, who saved the ninja world from being destroyed, and who can also master Otsutsuki, really deserves credit. After Sixian was defeated, the other Otsutsuki became the goddess of Uno in the ninja world. For some reason, maybe it was because of fear, loneliness, or the inability to grasp such a powerful power. There are various factors. In the end, she created two sons. One is the Sage of Six Paths you are familiar with, and the other is the younger brother of Sage of Six Paths, which is the origin of Kagaya, Hyuga and other families. Otsutsuki Hamura. In a few words, Carl laid out a volume of Otsutsuki's internal struggle history for Uchiha Madara, as well as the origin of myths and legends thousands of years ago. There is such a thing. Unexpectedly, Sage of Six Paths actually has a brother, but why is there no myth about him circulating in the ninja world? As the son of the goddess Uno, I don't believe that Otsutsuki Hamura, as a younger brother, will be inferior to Sage of Six Paths. Curiosity, shock, and yearning flashed across Uchiha Madara's eyes. Fang Buddha wants to go back to the magnificent era thousands of years ago, to see the amazing talents of the Six Paths brothers, and to see the strength of the Otsutsuki clan. It's very simple. After the war of slaughtering gods thousands of years ago, or the war of killing mothers, the younger brother of Sage of Six Paths moved to the moon with his family. See 10 Tales. In addition, after the war, Sage of Six Paths has been traveling in the land of Ninja World. While showing love to the land of Ninja World that was battered because of the battle between their mother and son, they will understand the true meaning of chakra and pass on chakra. Go out. Carl said in surprise. Then what role does Mount Myoboku play in it? Uchiha Madara thought of Mount Myoboku that Carl mentioned just now. It can be regarded as a role of guiding the savior, and of course it can also be called the savior frog. The reason why the ninja world can survive and master chakra is because the Six Paths brothers have a heart for the ninja world, and at the same time, Mount Myoboku's toad Maru, which is the great toad sage you are familiar with, became associated with them. At the same time, under the influence of negative emotions such as panic and worry day and night, the goddess Uno became more irritable and restless, and finally made the Six Paths brothers completely go to the opposite side. Carl said, I see, but the brothers Six Paths can defeat the goddess of Uno. This is incredible. I have seen Sixian, although I don't want to admit it, but I have to admit that Otsutsuki is really too unique compared to any family in the ninja world. Pupil surgery crushes Uchiha's Sharingan, Hyuga's white eyes, and even Rinnegan, physique crushes Hashirama's sage body, and masters time and space pupil surgery, etc., and no training is required. It's really hard for me to imagine how the Six Paths brothers went down and defeated the Uno goddess who was stronger than Sixian. Uchiha Madara said bitterly, maybe he was dying, or maybe he had no heart, but he let go of his old pride and frankly admitted that he was not as good as Otsutsuki. Here Hama Wan played a decisive role, Zhao Li's, and it can even be said to reverse the fate of the ninja world. He passed on Mount Myoboku's unique method of using the power of nature to the Six Paths brothers. The two created the first and most powerful Six Paths Sage mode in the ninja world, and another I don't know Sage mode. Relying on the unprecedented powerful Sage mode, as well as their own control and control of power, they have gained the power to compete with the goddess Uno. Carl said, impossible. No matter how powerful the original Sage mode is, Sixian who did not eat the fruit of the sacred tree is so powerful, let alone the goddess Uno who ate the fruit of the sacred tree. The Six Paths brothers shouldn't be elevated enough to beat their mother. Uchiha Madara shook her head. Chapter 311 Either copying Six Paths, homework, or copying Six Paths, son's homework part 3 please subscribe. Have you forgotten? The Otsutsuki family is uniquely endowed with no need to practice, nor will they know how to practice. Facing Uchiha Madara's doubts, Carl gave the answer directly. I see. No wonder the goddess of Mao will lose. It turned out that he was defeated because he was too much blessed by nature and never practiced. Uchiha Madara was taken aback for a moment, and then suddenly realized. As in the Sengoku era, from an unarmed child to the master of ninja Shira all the way, he knows too well that if he does not practice or experience battles, he will practice and fight day after day with a strong man who has come out of a sea of corpses and blood. The latter is too far behind. The same share of chakra, placed in the hands of the former and the latter, the combat effectiveness that can be exerted is simply not the same. Compared to the goddess of Mao, the Six Paths brothers are not only blessed, but also amazingly talented. The original Sage Mode, Yin Yang and Five Elements, Hitomijutsu, Illusion, Ninjutsu, Taijutsu and Sealing Technique are all excellent. Basically, after thousands of years in the ninja world, there are actually no new tricks to play, and all the techniques are basically copied from 6410 Dao Shijiazi. Either copying Six Paths, homework, or copying Six Paths, son's homework. But even so, the Six Paths brothers still couldn't defeat the Uno goddess. Quote. When Carl spoke later, the topic changed. What? Uchiha Madara froze. He thought the Six Paths brothers had won. Otherwise, the human beings in the ninja world and even this planet would become the nourishment of the sacred tree. Don't underestimate the fruit of the sacred tree, and don't underestimate the uniqueness of Otsutsuki. When the two are combined, the changes produced are beyond your imagination. Even if Kagayaji is far less stunning and talented than the Six Paths brothers, but he can't stand the fact that others are pure-blooded Otsutsuki, and they also occupy a fruit of the sacred tree. After eating the fruit of the sacred tree, the Uno goddess is not only immortal, but no technique can kill her or hurt her. She even masters the number one pupil technique, chakra, illusion, ninjutsu and body technique BFDA, not to mention, except for the sealing technique that hadn't been developed at that time, Uno goddess is the strongest ninja world in every aspect. What is even more frightening is her time-space pupil technique. Tianji Yuzhong, moving people to 6 different spaces at will, free shuttle space, and infinite Tsukuyomi, God tree realm descending, controlling the 10 tails of the perfect body, etc. A destructive technique. Not to mention the goddess Uno, even if such a powerful force is thrown on a pig, there is basically no possibility of being defeated, at least in the ninja world at that time. Carl spread his hands. Then how did the Six Paths brothers defeat Uno in the end? Uchiha Madara had put himself in the shoes of the Six Paths brothers, only to find he couldn't think of any way to pull against Otsutsuki Kagaya. Seal. Carl glanced beyond the ninja world. I see. Uchiha Madara immediately thought of the legend of the creation of the moon by the Sage of Six Paths. After connecting all these together, he finally understood the origin of Goddess Uno, Si Shion, Brother Six Paths and so on. Thanks. After realizing everything, Uchiha Madara let out a long sigh, and then stood up from the sea. Carl didn't speak, just shook his head slightly. Just like when the android Senju Hashirama begged him to let Uchiha Madara go, he felt compassion. Now he moves too. However, this time he didn't show it, or he forcibly suppressed the sympathy in his heart. What should be said? What should not be said? You have said everything, and I understand everything. At least when I went to the Pure Land to find the two Hashirama, I wouldn't be full of doubts. Quote. Also, don't feel pity for me anymore. I know, you have let me go many times in the open and in the dark. That's enough. I don't have the heart or the courage to fight with you anymore. Don't let me stay in such an ugly posture. Let me keep the appearance of Ninja Shura to draw the end. Uchiha Madara couldn't help but feel a headache after thinking that there were 2 Senju Hashirama waiting for him in Pure Land. This kind of fool, one is enough, but he still comes with 2 at a time. Hey, Carl sighed. Sigh, you are the winner. You have won me 2 eras, and you will kill me later. Are you still sighing? It makes me feel like these 2 eras are not always losing, but always winning. Uchiha Madara scolded with a laugh. One last thing to ask you. He stared at Carl intently. You say. Carl didn't stay silent anymore, nor did he use observation haki to read Uchiha Madara's mind. Can infinite Tsukuyomi bring permanent peace to the ninja world? Uchiha Madara looked at Carl expectantly. If not being able to beat Carl once is his biggest regret, then infinite Tsukuyomi is his last obsession. At that time, I completely parted ways with Carl and Senju Hashirama. In addition to resentment and ambition, infinite Tsukuyomi was the key. That's just a pupil art of Goddess Uo, a art of harvesting nutrients. Do you think it can bring peace? Carl asked back. Then why did Sage of Six Paths leave such a statement? For the peace of the ninja world, he can fight against the Goddess Uno. If it can't bring peace, why did he leave that stone tablet? It's not like he has enmity with his son, and his son's descendants. Uchiha Madara's body shook, as if all thoughts were lost. Chapter 312 Si Shion appears, Part 4. Please subscribe. Of course someone is cheating on you. You believe in such an idiotic thing, which is why I handed over the ninja world to you even if I retired back then. Although Hashirama is stupid, he has self-knowledge, and with Tobarama helping him, nothing can go wrong. If I really hand over the ninja world to you, I will only be cheated to death. Carl shook his head. Tricking me? How could? Forget it, let's leave these things to you to worry about. Who made me Uchiha Madara a loser, not a winner? Uchiha Madara's expression was cloudy at first, but thinking of her own situation, she couldn't help but smile. People are about to go to the Pure Land, what else do they want to do? Isn't that great? There is still a mastermind behind the scenes, so I will leave it to Carl, the guy who has overwhelmed him for 2 eras, to have a headache. It's really good, I want to win you once. Uchiha Madara shook his head, then closed his eyes, looking like he was waiting to die. Do it, go. Seeing this scene, Carl hesitated for a moment, and finally put his hand on Uchiha Madara's eyebrows. Be careful with Sixian. At the end of his life, Uchiha Madara suddenly uttered 4 words, but as soon as the words fell, his thinking froze. The surging force of the finger that touched his brow didn't seem to have caused any damage to the outside of his body, but the inside of his brain had already been shattered. Before you leave, you guys finally spoke human words. Carl quietly looked at Uchiha Madara's body. Sixian. Don't be careful, it won't be long before I send him to see you. Having said that, he sighed slightly. He personally killed Uchiha Madara and the artificial man Senju Hashirama, which also means that he has completely become a loner in a sense. All kinds belonging to the Sengoku era are all buried in the long history of the ninja world. Send me to see that trash. Can you do it? A ninja hero, or an outsider? Just when Carl lamented that all the things in the Sengoku era had disappeared, an indifferent voice with a kind of high will suddenly echoed in the center of the ocean. You are finally willing to come out. I thought you would have to hide for another few decades before coming out. There was no surprise on Carl's face when he heard the voice. Sixian. While talking, he turned his head to look at Sixian, who appeared next to the body of the android Senju Hashirama at some time. Hiding. Don't look down on yourself. Although you are not these humble natives in the ninja world, to me, there is not much difference between you and these natives. Sixian smiled disdainfully. If it wasn't for the remaining chakra of the Six Paths brothers who are still alive, do you think you would still be alive? Obviously, at his level, he is very aware of the fact that Brother Six Paths is dead but not dead, leaving a powerful chakra floating in the ninja world and the moon. In fact, during the millennia since Kage was sealed and the Six Paths brothers died of old age, it is not that he has never thought of coming out to plant the sacred tree again. After all, he still has a 10 tails. Even if Kage is sealed, he can replant the sacred tree. As for not having the Otsutsuki clan, that's okay, he has plenty of methods. But all of this was under the eyes of the Six Paths brothers, so he had to give up this idea. Especially after trying to capture or even take away Brother Six Paths, chakra failed, he had to give up this idea, and hid in the dark, constantly testing the limits of Brother Six Paths, while looking for opportunities. Asking for flowers. As the millennium passed, the blood of the Six Paths brothers in the ninja world became extremely thin, and when the ninja world could no longer have strong men like Indra, Ashura, and the first disciples of Six Paths 1,000 years ago, he felt that the time was ripe. Especially when he was certain that the 1,000 years had passed, no matter how powerful the Six Paths brothers' chakra was, it would definitely not be as good as it was after that year, so he had almost no worries. However, in order to test the Six Paths brothers who may be left behind in the ninja world, by the way, the last and only person who may hinder him in the ninja world, Iron Fist Carl, he created the artificial man Senju Hashirama. Unfortunately, to his disappointment, Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara were unable to defeat Carl. But it's not without things that make him happy. At least the power evoked by Uchiha Madara and the cyborg Senju Hashirama at the last moment moved even him. If both of them are Six Paths level existences, or Otsutsuki, and then display that heavy particle mode, it is completely enough to crush him. But even so, the strength shown by Uchiha Madara just now is no longer inferior to him at his peak. Although this state was short, it was enough to impress him. Yes, maybe you have a point. If it was in the Sengoku era, I'm really not your opponent. However, it is a pity that the only time you can defeat or kill me has been missed by you. If you use time and space ninjutsu to hide now, and hide for another 1,000 years, then I really can't do anything about you, but now, you take the initiative in front of me, it's just suicidal road. Quote. Carl smiled lightly and didn't deny it. Chapter 313 The Truth About Retiring Part 5 Please subscribe. After all, in the Sengoku era, Carl hadn't traveled for a long time. Not to mention the heavy particle mode, even Hideo's body has not been successfully refined, and he is really no match for Shion. It's a pity that there are not so many ifs in the ninja world. Missing the Sengoku era, Sixian has no chance. Suicide. Haha, frankly speaking, I really regret it a bit. It didn't kill you immediately when you emerged, but let you grow up. Originally, I thought that after you lived in seclusion, you would die of old age like Brother Six Paths, but I didn't expect that you were only pretending to retire, but in fact you were secretly accumulating strength to deal with me. 347. You ninja hero is really clever, you not only fooled Uchiha Madara, you fooled Brother Senju, you also fooled me. Shion's tone was a bit complicated. He's always had mixed feelings about Carl. There are admiration, and admiration, but there are also naked murderous intentions. Like him, this human who is not a native of the ninja world really impresses him again, and has repeatedly escaped his control. Even if he saw it with his own eyes, he couldn't believe that a seemingly insignificant human being at first had the strength comparable to a celestial being like Otsutsuki without practicing chakra in just 2 eras. Every time he thinks about it, he regrets not killing Carl in the first place. It's a pity that although there are such precious things as the fruit of the sacred tree in this ninja world, there is no medicine for regret. Carl couldn't deny it. Obviously, he was indeed exactly as Sixian said back then. At the most glorious time of life, I choose to retire. All of this is just to get away from Sixian's gaze, and then secretly accumulate strength to deal with the secret Otsutsuki. After all, Zan Luan, Uchiha Madara's project Tsuki no Mi, or even Black Zetsu doesn't matter. The only real threat to him, or the entire planet, has never been Otsutsuki. Sixian who was hiding in the dark, Kage who was sealed, and Otsutsuki who was coming to the ninja world. But anyone called Otsutsuki is the real threat. And his plan, also succeeded. His retirement, his old age life, and even special control of his face, showing a gradually aging appearance, made Sishion's views on him change from fear at the beginning to gradually ignoring. And he also seized the precious time of the three ninja wars, secretly united with Mount Myoboku, successfully refined his body into a black sword, and then absorbed the power of nature, allowing the body transformed into a black sword to undergo a second transformation. Until today, he has finally mastered the real power to fight against Otsutsuki. You think you've won? Seeing Carl's confident look, Sishion couldn't help sneering. If not, Carl asked back. The androids I created, Senju Hashirama, and Uchiha Madara, disappointed me, but they also surprised me. Although it didn't kill you, it also helped me a lot. Not only forced out your heavy particle mode, but also consumed your haki greatly. After killing Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, your haki will also consume a lot. Open black lens bracket. Except for observation haki, your armed colors, conquerors, are not as good as before, and now you are still my opponent. Sishion rose slowly into the air, looking down at Carl from a height. Try. Carl stretched out his right hand towards Sishion, beckoning gently. Don't worry, I won't give you any chance. Sishion took a deep look at Carl, then shook his head. When Carl heard this, his eyes flashed red, and his face changed slightly. Did you feel it? The ability of observation haki is really troublesome, you can even read my thoughts. But it doesn't matter anymore, it's too late even if you know now. Sishion looked at Carl with disgust. What he hates is not Carl, but the observation haki who can unscrupulously read people's minds. You guys are really crazy. If you dare to let her out, you won't be afraid to play too big, and when the time comes, you will have the fate of thousands of years ago again. Carl stared at Sishion coldly. What happened 1,000 years ago? HMPH, don't underestimate that servant and underestimate me. If she hadn't secretly attacked back then, do you think she could have stolen the fruit of the divine tree? When Sishion talked about being attacked by Kagayaji thousands of years ago, taking away the 10 tails, and stealing the fruit of the sacred tree, his face couldn't help showing a strong anger. He has been in this ninja world for thousands of years, not only has he not become the god of Otsutsuki, he has not even recovered from his peak period, all thanks to Kagayaji's backstab back then. If it weren't for Kagayaji's backstab, he wouldn't be said to be the god of Otsutsuki now, but at least he has monopolized 2 fruits of the sacred tree. Good. Like Kagayaji, he never thought of handing over the fruit of the sacred tree to the family. Especially after he discovered that the ninja world is very suitable for planting the god tree, and the soil and the force of nature can bear powerful god tree fruits, he is even more unwilling to hand over the god tree fruits. Chapter 314 Otsutsuki 1 Form, Times Have Changed Part 1 Please subscribe. With the superior soil of the ninja world and abundant natural power, once he bears 2 fruits of the sacred tree, plus 2 full body 10 tails, he is enough to deal with any family comers. As long as the high-level Otsutsuki do not mobilize, or do not make a large-scale attack, if the ordinary Otsutsuki tribe come together one by one, any combination will die. It's a pity that when all this was going on in an orderly manner, variables happened. As his servant, or a member of the branch house, Kagayaji didn't know whether he was aware of his intentions, or just happened to have a rebellious intention. When he planted the sacred tree and was about to bear the fruit of the sacred tree, he pretended to it was eaten by 10 tails, but in fact it directly gave him a backstab when he was most relaxed. As the guardian, he was actually backlashed by his own guardian and almost succeeded. This kind of thing has almost never happened in Otsutsuki. Once it is passed back to the family, he will become a disgrace and a negative example. After all, the Otsutsuki Jinshi, who was also the guardian, was refined into the fruit of the sacred tree and eaten by the guardian 15 Otsutsuki Peach Pose. There was no resistance in the whole process, and he was completely willing to die, giving everything for his guardian, including ecology. But when he came to Sishion, what he welcomed was Kagayaji's backstab, and he also lost a fruit of the sacred tree. No amount of talking will change the fact that you are a loser. Not to mention, Otsutsuki 1 style, times have changed. Do you think Kagayaji is still your guardian from thousands of years ago? She is now the goddess of Uno who ate the fruit of the sacred tree and mastered the reincarnation Sharingan. Carl said in a deep voice. Your reaction made me even more determined. What I did was right. Whether it's you or brother Six Paths, what you are more afraid of is the appearance of that traitor. Since the appearance of that traitor is the last thing you want to see, then I will make it even more true. When Sishion heard the words, he laughed instead of anger. He dared to let Kagayaji out, so naturally he had his way. As a protected person, even if the guardian eats the fruit of the sacred tree, he is not without means of resistance. What's more, after witnessing the heavy particle mode displayed by Carl, and it's not an experience card, but a permanent card, he can no longer tolerate this man's continued growth. It's only 2 eras, and he has grown to this point. If there is another era, or if he learns chakra, will Sishion still have a chance to come back. Repeated and wrong things, he will not do it again. Carl ignored Sishion, and took a step forward, rolling up the heavy sonic boom and rushing towards the land of thunder at an unimaginable speed. What are you in a hurry to do, Mr. Carl? Stay here and chat with me, is it not good to talk? For you, a hero, I have wanted to know you for a long time. Quote. Sishion chuckled, and directly entered the second form, growing the horns of the Otsutsuki family, catching up with Carl at a very fast speed, and directly intercepting him. Go away. Carl punched backhand, and Sishion fought fist to fist without showing any weakness. Boom. With the fists of the two as the center, the shock wave caused by the explosion of the Fangfo missile overturned the ground and spread in all directions. I don't know if the heavy particle mode just now consumed a lot of hockey, or what. Now that Carl has exited the heavy particle mode, he can't gain the upper hand against the strings that continue to release more chakra. You'd better stay, Mr. Carl. This scene is about to begin. Si Xian held Carl firmly, never giving him a chance to leave. With his strength, it is still possible to hold back Carl, who just used the heavy particle mode to fight a big battle. Carl stared at Si Xian with cold eyes, his fists were like rainstorms, and he bombarded out with heavy body skills one after another. In an instant, the two had fought all the way from the sea to the land. Sixian Fangfo sensed Carl's intentions, stopped retreating, and forcefully held Carl in an area, refusing to let him break through. Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, you finally did something useful. Seeing that Carl was still unable to break through, Sixian couldn't help smiling. He was very dissatisfied with 730 at Uchiha Madara. But he didn't expect that this trash in his eyes would bring him such a surprise. Inadvertently turned on the heavy particle mode. Although it is not Carl's opponent, it also consumes Emperor Carl's haki. This also led to Carl's inability to break through quickly. Otherwise, if it was Carl in his heyday, if he turned on the heavy particle mode, although he could not be defeated in a short time, it would be no problem to break through. This guy is temporarily restricted. Now it's up to you two guys. Kagaya, you traitors should be grateful to me. After betraying me, not only will I not care about you, but I will also give you a chance to see the sun again. Sixian thought coldly in his heart. Really don't care. Do not. He knows too well that the current Kagayaji is no longer the guardian that he can manipulate at will. The moment he ate the fruit of the divine tree and mastered the complete 10 tails, the identity, status, and strength between Kagayaji and him have been completely reversed. Chapter 315 10 Tails Chakra, Part 2 Request Subscription. Even if Kagayaji didn't cultivate, didn't fight much, and wasn't as experienced and talented as the Six Paths brothers, but her strength crushed everything. Don't you see, it's better than when the Six Paths brothers teamed up and fought for so many days, but in the end they had to choose to seal Kagayaji. If the fight continues, Kagayaji will not only grow rapidly in the battle, but her control over power will become better and better, and her strength will also increase. Similarly, the strength of the Six Paths brothers will continue to decline. After all, fight for chakra, fight for endurance, fighting to recover, the Six Paths brothers did not fight Kagayaji who ate the fruit of the sacred tree. The more powerful Kagayaji is, the more Sixian will be worried about the fact that his guardian stole the fruit of the sacred tree back then. It's just that the situation now is completely different from what it was 1,000 years ago. The ninja world is no longer as weak as it was back then. Except for the power of nature mastered by the three holy places, the entire ninja world is just a group of inferior human beings who are nothing to worry about. Not to mention 2 Otsutsuki clans, even 1 Jonin is enough to sweep a ninja world. At this time, in addition to the Six Paths brothers who are dead but not stiff, and the 3 holy places that are becoming more and more powerful, there is another existence that is not native to the ninja world just like their Otsutsuki clan. Facing Carl, who has become more and more powerful as time goes by, especially after seeing Uchiha Madara in the heavy particle mode can only be defeated with hatred, he knows that the ninja world is no longer their Otsutsuki's final say. Only by getting rid of Otsutsuki, getting rid of Brother Six Paths, can the ninja world be at his mercy like it was thousands of years ago. And all of this is not something he can do on his own. Letting Kagayaji out was nothing more than an act of his desperation. If he had a choice, he would even try his best to keep Kagayaji from being sealed, and even seal him for countless years and suffer all kinds of tortures. The thorn, the hatred of taking away the fruit of the divine tree. Land of Earth. Canopy Bridge. The surface of the ground is like a piece of paper that has been forcibly torn apart, with a long crack cracked. A large number of white Zetsu slowly moved a huge cannon out of the depths of the ground, which was Uchiha Madara's former base. Black Zetsu, Otsutsuki Aikishiki really got into a fight with Carl. Not only did he send the cyborg Senju Hashirama and the powerful Uchiha Madara, but he also went off the field himself afterwards, buying us enough time. To be honest, I once suspected that he had some conspiracy to provide us with the 10 tails chakra that smashed the moon. When White Zetsu A-Fei learned from his avatar that Si Xian and Carl were really brilliant, his face was still full of shock. Although he was there when Sixian came to look for Black Zetsu before, he never expected that Otsutsuki, who was stabbed in the back by the goddess Uno, not only lost the fruit of the sacred tree, but even almost lost his life, really obeyed commitment, held off Carl. First they sent Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, and then they got off in person, dragging Carl on the ocean of Ninja World, and they didn't let him get away. HMPH, as expected. From the moment he released the android Senju Hashirama to rescue Uchiha Madara, and then found you and me, and didn't kill you and me, I knew he wouldn't break his word. Especially after Uchiha Madara and the android Senju Hashirama lost together, he was more concerned about resurrecting the mother than I was. 11. Black Zetsu smiled coldly, there was no surprise on his black face. Wait, you mean, if Senju Hashirama and they didn't die? White Zetsu's face changed drastically, but he was interrupted before he finished speaking. As long as Carl didn't show the strength that made him afraid in this battle, with his character, he would have turned his face and refused to recognize anyone. The previous promise to give us time to release our mother was just his choice, even his only choice. Unless he wants to sit back and watch Carl keep getting better. Don't forget, Otsutsuki's strength is improved by eating the fruit of the god tree in addition to being born. Do you think how much progress Sixian has made over the past 1,000 years? Look at Carl again, from the Sengoku era to the present, but the time of the two eras has surpassed Otsutsuki. This time, he still caught Uchiha Madara, who accidentally stimulated the heavy particle mode, abruptly consuming a lot of Carl's time-consuming haki. Otherwise, it would not be so easy for him to hold Carl down. Missed the Sengoku era, he has lost the best time to kill Carl. Quote. Black Zetsu has a calm face, money is good, and calm, although his strength is not worth mentioning compared to the Six Paths brothers, except for the ability to control people with one move at will, dominating the powerhouses below the Six Paths level. There's nothing special about it anymore. But it is precisely because he is aware of his weakness that he has been cautious for thousands of years, which has given him a great understanding of the human heart. Quote. You were right at all. He didn't keep his promise, but Carl was stronger than he expected. When he came to us and said to help us revive Kagayaji, and gave us the 10 Tails chakra, which is huge enough, so that we can use it to use the energy needed to launch the chakra cannon, he intends to use it as the last insurance uncle. White Zetsu A-Fei also nodded when he heard the words. Chapter 316 Kagaya breaks seal. 2 Great Otsutsuki, complete. HMPH, it's not that Carl's strength is beyond his budget yet again. Defeat Uchiha Madara in heavy particle mode, kill android Senju Hashirama, and he won't do it either. As long as Carl's strength is not as overwhelming as it is now, he will turn a corner and come over to kill the two of us, and take back the 10 Tails chakra that was given to us before. How can we revive our mother? Black Zetsu said in a cold tone. Forget it, no matter what, at least the resurrection of Uno is a foregone conclusion, and even Carl can't stop it from happening. Otsutsuki is also considered a good deed. When the goddess of Mao is out of trouble, we don't need to be as passive as we are now. Quote. When White Zetsu A-Fei said this, his tone became excited. Even Black Zetsu, the third son of Kagaya Haim, has struggled so hard for thousands of years, let alone him. Speaking of which, you are really good. I noticed the chakra cannon during the 4th Ninja War before. Take advantage of the melee and quietly move the chakra cannon away. If you hadn't taken the chakra cannon back then, even if Otsutsuki had given us the 10 Tails chakra today, we wouldn't be able to revive Uno Goddess. Quote. Having said that, when White Zetsu A-Fei looked at Black Zetsu, his eyes were full of admiration. Do you think this thing was made by Cloud Shinobi? As Black Zetsu spoke, he poured all the 10 Tails chakra that Otsutsuki gave him before Yishi into the chakra cannon. Could it be you too? White Zetsu looked at Black Zetsu in astonishment. Even he really didn't know about it. At this moment, he really admired Black Zetsu again. They don't have the strength of the Six Paths brothers, but the city government and scheming are indeed 76 terrifying. Especially for the resurrection of Kagayaji, I don't know how many methods have been prepared secretly. Perhaps even Uchiha Madara is just one of the means of resurrecting the goddess of Uchiha in the Black Zetsu script, not the only one. I don't put all my eggs in one basket. Those Uchihas have such capricious personalities that they can live and die with you one moment, and fight with you the next moment. God knows if Uchiha Madara will drop Project Tsuki no Mi. Black Zetsu looks at the chakra cannon, which charges quickly. From the very beginning, Uchiha Madara was nothing more than a means for me to put it on the bright side. It really failed, and I still have a backhand to use. After finishing speaking, he stared at the sky where the moon was. Although there were many changes in the middle, but no matter what, Shahuo Kagayaji finally succeeded. Do it. White Zetsu took a deep look at Black Zetsu. No wonder this guy was able to live alone for 1,000 years under the insight of Brother Six Paths, see Shion. Resurrect. Mother. Black Zetsu nodded, and then activated the chakra cannon that was quickly recharged after injecting part of the 10 Tails chakra. Boom. With a loud noise, the bright and eye-catching chakra light beams shot up into the sky, like meteors piercing the sky, shooting from the land of Ninja World to the moon at an extremely fast speed. In just a few moments, the chakra light beam has already spanned a long distance and ruthlessly bombarded the moon. Although the moon has an enchantment laid by the descendants of Otsutsuki Hamura, at this time the moon has already died and only 2 people are left, and the peace of the millennium, coupled with the unexpected arrival of the chakra cannon, made Otsutsuki and his son in the moon even it was too late to respond. The barrier had already been blasted, and then Nuota's moon was blown to pieces under the violent explosion. Yuya, Hamura, you are so ruthless. As the moon shattered, a woman full of resentment, with 2 horns on her head, and a terrifying chakra wave came out from the core. That's the goddess of Mao. Floating on the debris of the moon, the severely wounded Otsutsuki Tonari and his son stared wide-eyed. A descendant of Hamura, Otsutsuki Kagaya glanced at Otsutsuki Tonari and his son, and the next time the shadows filled the sky had overwhelmed the two of them. Sealed by the Six Paths brothers for thousands of years, it's no wonder if you don't get angry when you see the descendants of Otsutsuki Hamura as soon as you come out. Without the slightest hesitation, he killed the 2 of them like crushing ants. Black Zetsu. Although Otsutsuki Kagaya has been sealed for many years, but thinking of the moon that was shattered just now, she also knows that only her 3rd son would do such a thing. Appeared beside Black Zetsu. Mother, you are finally out. When Black Zetsu saw Otsutsuki Kagaya, whom he had only met once after birth, reappeared, he was overjoyed, and immediately stepped forward. Mom, times are different, now is different from the past. Back then, your clansman Otsutsuki Aikishiki is still alive, this time you come out. Afraid that Otsutsuki Kagaya would be sealed for too long and could not keep up with the pace of the times, Black Zetsu immediately stepped forward and explained the current situation clearly as quickly as possible. A foreigner like me, do you want another style? HMPH, no matter what, the final winner can only be me. Kagaya G took Black Zetsu and cast Wonkwan Hirosaka, and a space shuttle had already come in front of Carl and Sixian who were fighting fiercely. Servant, pay attention to your words, now I am above you. Before Si Xian finished speaking, Kagaya G had already said coldly. HMPH, I just stole the fruit of my sacred tree. Forget it, the matter between you and me will be settled later. No matter how big the grievances are, you and I are both of the Otsutsuki family, but he is not. If you want to come to the second fruit of the sacred tree, you will not refuse it, but if he is still alive, you and I will not have a successful day. Sixian suppressed the anger in his heart. Outsider, if you leave here, I can pretend nothing happened. Kagaya G did not immediately agree to Sixian's proposal, but instead looked BFBD at Carl. I reject. Carl didn't think about it at all. Leaving the ninja world, not to mention how long it would take him to find a second planet similar to the ninja world, but he never thought of leaving at all. In that case, don't blame me for not giving you a chance. Kagaya Ji Chao's face turned cold, but when she was about to make a move, huge chakra chains shot up into the sky, sealing her and Si Xian. Adamantine sealing chains Uzumaki Kushina. Si Xian is not sealed for thousands of years like Kagaya Ji, and she immediately knows who is coming when she sees the chakra chain. You still want to seal me? Kagaya Ji is full of hatred for the sealing technique, but when she raised her hand and struck out the 80 gods that shook the ninja world, although the chakra chain was smashed to pieces, but it didn't shatter all at once, her face turned pale. Changed. The power of Yuya. The power of 6 paths. Kagaya Ji and Si Xian turned around and found that Uzumaki Kushina was wearing a golden chakra coat at this time, but he did not have the vertical pupils of 9 tails, but instead exuded a strong force of nature. Damn it, I knew that 6 paths was dead but not dead, and would leave behind, but I didn't expect him to be willing to give his chakra and pupil power to the reincarnation who is not his son. Si Xian's face darkened. Even if you get Yuya's power, you can never seal me. When Otsutsuki Kagaya subconsciously wanted to cast Wonkwan Hirosaka, a figure landed beside Uzumaki Kushina. And me. Tsunade stared at Otsutsuki Kagaya and Sixian with a pair of Lugoyu Rinagons open. This pupil power, Uchiha Madara, damn 6 paths. Not only gave her pupil power to this woman, but also drew Uchiha Madara's pupil power to create 6 paths yin-yang dun technique to create a pair of 6 hook jade Rinnegan. Sixian saw that Tsunade's left and right eyes were all Lugoyu Rinnegan, and he immediately reacted. When he turned his head, he found that although Uchiha Madara's body was still there and a pair of eyes were still there, the pupil power had disappeared. Planetary devastation. Tsunade put his hands together, with Sixian and Otsutsuki Kagaya as the center. A huge gravitational force was released, countless rocks, and the current swept towards the two of them. I will not be sealed again. Otsutsuki Kagaya yelled angrily, and when subconsciously about to use the heavenly control to transfer the space, Carl, who originally consumed a lot of haki, yelled angrily. 8 inner gates open. The powerful chakra, like purple flames, soared into the sky mixed with terrifying lightning. How is it possible? Your haki is obviously exhausted, and you have no chakra. Si Xian was stunned. I don't have chakra. My haki consumes a lot, otherwise, how can I get the two of you Otsutsuki out at once, and then catch them all? Carl gave a cold drink. Also, after my 8 inner gates opened the 8 gates, what I got was not the powerful chakra, but haki. Hearing this, neither Sixian nor Otsutsuki Kagaya wanted to leave without hesitation using the time-space pupil technique. The door to death is open. Destruction. Carl opened the door of death in one breath. Relying on the body of the black knife and the enhanced protection of the new haki, he forcibly resisted the auxiliary function of the door of death. He raised his hand and punched the new haki full of destructive breath. The area blocked by the chains of chakra. Under the space distortion, there is no way to perform time and space ninjutsu. Damn it. Realizing that the time-space pupil technique is useless, Ji-Xian and Otsutsuki Kagaya still don't understand that Carl had premeditated it. Die. Carl raised his hand and punched, and the purple fist mixed with lightning instantly drowned Si Xian. As for Kagaya Ji, although she also received a punch, her immortal body was recovering rapidly. 6 paths planetary devastation. Tsunade and Uzumaki Kushina thought about Kagaya Ji as if they had gone through countless drills. Hateful. Kagaya Ji's body had just recovered, but her pretty face was ugly as hell. The familiar sealing power enveloped his body again, and he was engulfed by countless rocks in a blink of an eye, turning into a new moon again. After tossing for 2 eras, it is finally stable for the time being. Carl glanced at Uzumaki Kushina and Tsunade, raised his hand, and threw the brand new light made by 6 paths planetary devastation out of the ninja world.